Hey everybody, John here, All Hickory Forge, welcome back. I'm out here about to get started on a project that I've been wanting to do for a while, but just haven't really gotten around to. I figured now is as good a time as any. What I want to make is a Viking style axe, similar to this one. This is a cold steel Viking axe that I keep for home defense. But I want to make something like this, but I want to do it in what's called a three-piece construction. Basically, we're going to have a bit, which is going to be welded to a mild steel body, which is going to be welded to a mild steel eye. So we're going to have three different pieces of steel we're going to be making this thing out of. Traditionally or historically, this is the way it would have been done from what I've read, because carbon steel was expensive and hard to come by, and wrought iron was much easier to work, and it was everywhere. So anyway, that's what we got going on. This is the material we're going to use for the bit. I'm going to use a piece of this discarded coil spring, found this at a junkyard. And for the body and the eye of the axe, I'm going to be using this scrap piece of flat bar. I actually have no idea what this is. It's either mild steel or wrought iron, because I tried to harden it, it doesn't harden, so it's either mild steel or wrought iron. But this actually, when my grandfather passed away, this came out of his barn. My family was going through it, and they found this, and they figured, hey, you know, John, he's a blacksmith, he could probably do something with this. So I figured I'm going to do something with it. So stick around and see how it's done. So this is the steel for our bit. It's a piece of 3/4 inch coil spring. I've cut off a 3-inch section of it. I'm aiming for a finished cutting edge length of about 4 3/4, about 5 inches on this thing, maybe a little more. But this is plenty of steel to make the bit. People often underestimate how much steel is actually in a piece of spring. So we'll get this guy in the fire, we'll start forging it out and do a bit. So first thing we got to do, obviously, is straighten this piece of coil spring out and flatten it. Get out into basically a bar stock. So I'm working both the body and the bit at the same time, just to keep things moving quicker. First thing we got to do is get the slot cut in this for it to respect the bit. This is where our handle hot cut tool comes in handy. Go in the middle. Go right there. On this pass, I'm really just trying to mark it. So just keep working that bit down. Just keep working on splitting that body. It's slow going, but you'll get there. So here's what we got. As you can see, that coil spring drew out quite a bit. I'm only about 1/4 of the way where I want to be as far as the slit in the body goes, but I'm getting there. But you can kind of see how they're going to mate up. This is going to be welded into there, and that's what's going to make the body of the axe. So I've got the bit drawn out to length. Next thing I got to do is get it ready for welding. So we need to bevel down this end and cut some teeth onto it. So I'm just going to hold it at an angle, just like I would if I was beveling a knife. Just draw it down nice and thin. So we got our bit scarfed down to about fingernail thick. Next thing we want to do is just chuck it up in the vise. Grab you a chisel and start cutting teeth in it at about a 45-degree angle so they kind of stick out. And switch directions every time you do it. So last thing we're going to do with this bit, give it a good brush, clean it up, go ahead and flux it real good, and just set it off to the side to cool. You're done with it for now. So I've got the bit, or the body of the axe, about where I want it as far as splitting. So next thing we got to do is open it up a little bit. Just using the edge of the anvil for this. So we got going. Then we're going to start scarfing down these edges, just like we did on the bit. The reason for that is if you have hard corners in your forge weld, they can create weak spots. Because rather than wanting to weld together, they'll just want to shear through each other. A small hammer is useful for this. We got our edges scarfed real good. Next thing I'm going to do is brush this thing on the inside real good. Go ahead and throw some flux in this baby. So now we'll just get our body hot, take our bit, lay it in there ever so gently. A few blows should seat it. So our billet's in the fire, coming up to welding heat. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I'm going to do now, so I'm not worried about trying to talk while I'm setting the weld. But the first thing we're going to do is prop the axe up on its back and gently set the weld in the vertical plane. When we go through our next heat, we'll tack it on the horizontal plane just to make sure it's completely welded all the way in there. So it's a lowest vertical plane. That's all we're going to do. One more pass to make sure everything's really in there. Again, being gentle. Now the bit's tacked in there good, I'm going to start welding these horizontal planes. Nice and gentle at first. So here's where we're at on the Viking axe from scrap build. Bit is welded into the body. Weld's not as pretty as I would have liked, and it actually squeezed out a little bit down here on this end as well as that end. But I'm more than confident that it's solid. I've made much uglier welds that held up fine. And I did plan for that because it sometimes happens when welding in a bit into an axe like this. But yeah, the weld's good and solid. I'm not worried about it coming loose or anything. So it's getting late in the day, so I'm gonna have to pick this up again tomorrow. But what we'll do tomorrow is fix up this profile a little bit, and then we'll get ready to weld on the eye. So it's the next day. Here's where we are on the Viking axe from scrap build. I've gone ahead and ground off the incomplete weld on the bottom. Now we got good true metal with no seams, so the welds are solid. And I went ahead and took it pretty much to its finished profile, so that's less work I have to do later. Next thing we gotta do is make the eye. So this is the same piece of that scrap flat bar we made the body out of. We're gonna scarf both ends, scarf this end, cut some teeth onto it, close this up, beat this into this, and then weld it all together, and we'll have an eye. Like I said, we're gonna scarf down the area that's gonna be welded into the eye. We'll start spreading out and scarfing down the ends of the piece that's gonna become the eye. For some reason the camera wasn't recording, but I just cut some teeth onto the scarfed area of the body that's gonna be welded to the eye, just like we did when we made the bit. Then brushed it and fluxed it, again, just like we did when we made the bit. So, sorry that wasn't recording, but you get the idea. So with both ends scarfed, I'll just take a heat on the middle, find roughly the center, start bending it around the eye. Start bending it around the horn to make the eye, I guess you could say. What I'm actually going to do here is put my tongs kind of inside the bit and use the edge of the anvil. Kind of closes up into more of the shape I'm looking for. See what's going on? It'll make it a little easier to weld the bit in. So right now I'm just trying to weld back here at the back part of the eye, so I'm going to use the horn as well as the peen of my hammer and just gently set those together. So I've got the back of the eye welded, got the inside of it fluxed. Now it's time to install our blades. So just set that guy in there just like we did putting the bit. That'll center a little bit. Gotta kind of fiddle around with it a little bit. And there you go. We'll weld all that up and we'll have an axe. So being very gentle with this thing, not to knock the blade out of it. I'm just going to gently tack my weld all around. Going in for a full weld this time. So all that's left now is crimping this eye to shape. So prop it up on the edge of your vise, or the jaws of your vise. Put the tomahawk mandrel in there. See what we got going? We'll go once from the bottom, once from the top, and that should get us where we need to go. And you want to do this at a good orange heat, just to keep pressure off your welds. Don't let it get too cold. About right there should do it. So here's where we're at on the Viking axe build. I'm just going to normalize this thing 3 times. Welds aren't the prettiest in some places, but it's straight, it's true, eyes in line with everything else. So we'll normalize it 3 times, grind off as much of the seams we can, grind it to its final shape, and we'll harden this baby. So my normal quench bucket actually wasn't wide enough to do the blade of the axe, so I got a paint can full of vegetable oil, should get the job done. But this thing's up to critical, so fingers crossed. If your welds are gonna break, they'll break here, so let's be hopeful. Dump that guy in there. After I've got the heat out of the edge, I'm just going to drop the whole axe head in there to get that nice black oxide coating on the whole thing. That mild steel on the body won't harden, so you don't kind of worry about it. So here's what we got out of the quench. She's good and hard. All the welds held up, so that's good. So we'll grind the edge onto this thing, temper it, sharpen it, haft it up, and we got an axe. So I've just got the edge rough ground onto this thing to where I can see true metal. I'm going to temper this thing by hand. If you haven't figured it out by now, I don't much care for tempering in the oven. So all I'm going to do is just take my little torch and heat up the axe back in this area and watch the colors creep forward until I get like a dark brown up here on the edge. There you go. See, we got a nice dark brown on the whole edge. Torch tempering is risky, but if you can get the hang of it, it'll save you a lot of time. So here's the axe all done. Got a nice sharp edge on it. Antique the handle a little bit with some fire. The edge was a lot thinner than I would have liked, so I couldn't get as defined of a grind as I would like, but she's good and sharp. You know, shaves hair, so that's good. But I got a piece of scrap 2x6 chucked up in the vise here. I'm just gonna take a few whacks with this thing, see how it feels. Oh wow. Yeah, she bites in really well. Now let's give this guy a throw just for fun. Nice. Bit in deep too. So she sunk in about to there, so I'd say that's pretty good. So here she is all done. Pretty cool. I think I'm gonna call her Olga. Cool name for a Viking axe. She definitely ain't winning no beauty contest, but if I wanted to split somebody's head open, I think she'd do the trick. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for following along with the build. Please like and subscribe to see lots more cool stuff I got coming. Thanks again. Everybody take care, and make sure you get out to your workshops, make some cool stuff. I forgot to mention, my inspiration for this build was Rowan Taylor's Viking Shipwrights broadaxe video. Rowan Taylor is a guy over in the UK, I believe, but he's the most purely skilled blacksmith I've ever seen. You know, he makes everybody else look like a steaming pile of dog crap, and I hope to one day be as good as him. So, Rowan, if you're watching this, thanks for the inspiration. I'll put a link to your channel in the description. If you're watching this, you should go check him out. He's a great smith.